I got a phone call about 10:30 from my daughter Carly, and she was very panicked and said that there was an accident, and she thinks Whitney might have been in it, and I just needed to pray.
Whitney Serac was a freshman at Taylor University when the van she and some friends were riding in was hit by a tractor trailer. The coroner informed Colleen and Newell that their daughter died on impact.
That was a very, very tough moment, very tough night at that point.
People have always said it, you have a choice. You can either run to God, or you can run away from God, and I chose to run to God.
5 people were killed in the accident, and 4 others were injured. All were from Taylor University. To spare Colleen and Newell the pain of seeing their daughter, they were told they didn't need to ID the body.
The void that she left when her life was gone, and it was one of those moments where we just really had to press into God and to find strength in Him.
The day before the funeral, Colleen found Whitney's Bible with several verses underlined.
It was just like God had picked those verses for us. It was just like, for your love is better than life, therefore my lips will glorify you, Psalm 63:3, and surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. God was speaking to us. That's when we really truly gave it to God, because if I hadn't done that, I would have tried to do it on my own and failed miserably, because the hole was so big, but God gave us the strength to honor Him through this hard time.
The Seracs tried to get used to a life without their daughter.
Everyone's life goes on after the funeral. You know, they go back to their normal worlds, but it was hard. There was lots of tears.
I remember coming home and Colleen would be in the kitchen and we'd just hold on to each other.
Then, 5 weeks after the funeral, Colleen got another late-night call. Again, it was from the Grant County coroner.
He said, "We have reason to believe that your daughter's alive." And I just felt like somebody just like poked me, you know, and the air was like slowly letting out of this balloon. And I was like, no, we buried our daughter 5 weeks ago. My heart just sank because I just did think it was a cruel joke. And how could anybody be so mean?
Colleen called Newell, who was in New York City, on a trip with the church youth group.
And so she tells me that Whitney's alive. I go, no, we buried her. We buried Whitney.
Reluctantly, Colleen and Carly drove through the night to the hospital. They arrived around 7 a.m., not knowing what to expect.
And right outside the door, it said Laura Van Ryan. And I remember pushing open the door and seeing this girl, and instantly I knew it was Whitney. And I just said, "It's Whitney." And Whitney woke up, and her eyes were like big as dollars, and she just kept on shaking her head like yes. As we said Whitney, she kept on shaking her head yes. And I couldn't get on the phone fast enough, and I was like, "No, it's Whitney."
I fell down on my knees, and I go, "What does she look like?" She says, "As beautiful as ever." And I was like, I was just totally overwhelmed.
Whitney suffered a severe head injury that put her in a coma and caused massive swelling. Crash investigators identified Whitney from items found near her body, items belonging to Laura Van Ryn, whose family was just finding out that it was their daughter who had died.
Finding out about the mix-up, I just remember being really confused, and I knew that the Van Ryn family had been hurting that whole time, that they had been with me thinking that I was their daughter, being so supportive. They loved me like they would Laura.
Whenever we've celebrated Whitney's life, we know the Van Ryns have lost their daughter. But that's the great thing about Don and Susie is their faith in Jesus Christ.
They are an amazing family, and I'm just so thankful for the way that they loved and cared for Whitney. They're wonderful.
Whitney progressed through therapy, and that fall she was able to continue her studies at Taylor University. But the guilt of surviving that fatal crash still troubled her.
I remember being like, why me, why me? And my dad was like, why not you, Whitney? Like, the Lord can use you in a special way. And I think when he said, why not you, that's when it hit me. Like, yeah, why not me? Like, I can be a great advocate for the Lord too.
Whitney went on to graduate from Taylor and has since married and is raising a family with her husband, Matt. Today, the whole family loves to share how the accident strengthened their faith in God.
Before April 26th, I was just going through the motions and life was fine, but then reality hit and a huge tragedy came into my life, and I chose Christ, and that was the best decision that I've ever made. And I would challenge anyone that's going through a tragedy or not, just to find that hope in Christ.
Every time I see Whitney, every time I talk to her on the phone, I'm reminded again of the blessing that we have in her life. And the grandkids, I mean, there's no end to our thankfulness.
I think that through the accident, my faith became stronger because I totally needed his strength. I mean, there was no way I could do it on my own. I really felt his arms around me. I really felt his strength. I really felt his peace. His word spoke to me. It was living, it was real, and it was written for me.